Because this channel is largely, although not exclusively, focused on criminal justice related topics, I'm often bouncing around between major cities like Chicago, St. Louis, Baltimore, New Orleans, and due to personal bias, New York City. But what it's important for you guys to understand is that crime is not the only problem in these particular areas. Today I want to talk about grade inflation in the city of Baltimore, which, by the way, I actually think should be criminal, and this amazing mother who realized that her son was benefiting from this great inflation and has been fighting against it and helped expose this for the world to see because it is worth talking about. Yes, we're going back to Baltimore. We're going into the public education system, one of the worst cities in terms of public education in the entire nation, and we're talking about their grade inflation program. But before we do, I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
Tonight, serious allegations that some Baltimore City schools continue to falsify student report cards.
6 years ago, a mother told Project Baltimore her son was being cheated out of an education. Tonight, that mother tells Chris Papps it's still happening.
So first of all, Project Baltimore. Great series out of Fox 45 in Maryland. Definitely subscribe to their YouTube channel. You can be ahead of the curve on what is going on over there. I rely heavily on their reporting, so credit where credit is due. Thank you, Project Baltimore, for producing this segment. It seems like you're the only place locally that is holding them to any account.
Me standing on Fox 45. Pissed off.
Project Baltimore first met Tamika Harrison and her son in 2017.
African Americans, they're filled up with prisons. They're filling up with the grades. I don't want this for my son.
Harrison was upset with the grades her son had received on his report card. 2 A's, 2 B's, and a C. Seems like a good marking period. Which was the problem, because Harrison's son, at the time, had a medical condition. He wasn't in school.
So this story features Baltimore mother Tamika Harrison, and as they said, they actually first met her back in 2017, 6 years ago, when she discovered that her son was receiving benefits from the school in terms of grade inflation that she knew 100% for a fact that he had not earned. And part of the reason she knew he hadn't earned it is because he actually wasn't in school for a lot of the period of time in which he was pulling home B's and A's and C's and getting hours credited to him for community service that she knows he didn't complete. But she was not about him getting a free ride. She was not about him getting a free pass. And this is why for 6 straight years, she's been going after the Baltimore public school system. And you gotta give credit to this woman for fighting for this long.
If he gets these A's and B's, damn it, it better be because he's earning them.
I am so about this mother's energy right here in this moment. She's going straight to the news, telling them straight to their face that if her son gets these good grades, the reason he should get them is because he earned them, no other reason at all whatsoever.
A student given a falsified report card by Baltimore City schools. Harrison told Fox 45 it was happening in 2017. 6 years later, she says it's still happening.
As fraudulent can be. If that's not breaking a law, I don't know what is.
You compare this attitude from this mother in Baltimore, who, let's be honest, probably isn't doing well financially, probably would benefit from her kid getting a free pass high school diploma, maybe even getting a scholarship based on these fraudulent grades in order to get into college, to the way that modern left-wing cities like Portland, Seattle, etc. are getting rid of math or lowering the qualifications for math because they genuinely believe that black students are incapable of doing it. It is quite refreshing to see that contrast from someone on the ground and to see the passion for education. We don't know the educational background of her. We don't know if she has a college degree or anything like that, but at least she wants better for her child. And in the history of America, minority groups that come here, even though black people have been here forever, but I'm just saying this as an example, and want education that they themselves didn't have for their children, tend to produce successful next generations.
As fraudulent can be. If that's not breaking a a law, I don't know what is.
Look, I 100% agree with her. This, if it is not illegal, definitely should be illegal. And especially when you factor in that Baltimore is in the top 5 in terms of per pupil spending each and every year in this nation, and they have absolutely pitiful results. In fact, I've seen them get as high as the number 3 spot in terms of the most funded public school systems, number 3 per pupil, and still they're producing school after school after school with 0% success rates on their standardized tests, as we've covered in previous videos on this channel. And while this is happening, rather than working to get the kids up to speed, rather than putting that money to good use, rather than performing as well as schools who have half the funding tend to perform across this country, they're deciding that their number one strategy is to juke the stats, do grade inflation, hand out fraudulent report cards, and you know for a fact that this has been going on for a very long time until a mother with some actual dignity, with some actual self-respect, with some actual expectations for her son noticed it and reported it to the news media and made this big stink about it so that the public broadly could see this for themselves. How many parents knew that their kid didn't earn their grades but just ignored it? How many parents were happy to get passed through until somebody with some conviction, like the mother featured here, decided that she was going to fight back against it, decided that wasting $20,000+ per pupil for terrible results and then covering up those results was not good enough and not to her satisfaction.
Harrison's son is now 18. Fox 45 is not naming or showing him. He attends Renaissance Academy, a high school in West Baltimore. And here is his most recent progress report. Take a look at this section. You can see under Student Service Learning Hours, he's completed 103.5 hours.
So as you can see right here, this guy ended up getting over 100 hours of this community service requirement, and he got credited this despite the fact that his mother is about to tell you he completed no such volunteer work. They're just giving it to him like they're doing for the other students, and to make it look less suspicious or more suspicious, they actually credited him with over 25 hours more than what is needed to graduate. Now, by the way, I did notice something from the website of the Baltimore Public School System that might actually explain the ideology that gives credit for these hours, even though there is no actual credit due to this particular student. And that is right there in the subheadline. It says equity and excellence, but as we all know, equity is the opposite of excellence. It's actually equal outcome despite putting in equal effort, and that's what we're actually seeing on display right here. This kid is getting credited along with many other children for volunteer hours that are supposed to promote literacy or honor veterans or do something positive in the community, just based on the fact that they're showing up and they have a body temperature vaguely in the realm of 90 degrees.
At more than 103, Harrison's son has far more service learning hours than he needs to graduate. That is what his progress report says. But according to Harrison, her son didn't do any of it.
You don't have any idea how your son got 103 service learning hours?
Absolutely not. He doesn't even know. He looked me straight in my face and said, Ma, you can just get him by coming to school.
Just showing up at school?
Just showing up. I felt like I had an out-of-body experience. I'm past pissed.
Yeah, that's right. So these hours that you're supposed to get credited, and by the way, you can argue whether or not the state of Maryland's graduate requirement makes sense or doesn't make sense, are being given to the students at Baltimore Public Schools just for showing up to schools. And as we've seen before, even not showing up to schools gets you positive grades, A's and B's and even a C, even though you weren't there, and there's actually a medical reason why you weren't there, as we saw from the report card years ago. So what's going on in Baltimore is that they're deliberately perpetuating a fraud so that parents are unaware and don't ask questions about where all the money is being spent, and everybody acts surprised each and every year when they're doing this level of grade inflation, when Baltimore Public Schools consistently deliver school after school after school where 0% of the students are proficient in either math or reading or both.
In the past 6 years, Project Baltimore has spoken to a number of parents like Harrison, reporting extensively on city schools falsifying report cards. We've exposed grades that were not earned, attendance for students who were not there, and now, apparently, service learning hours.
So since this was brought to the attention of the local Fox 45 affiliate, the Project Baltimore series, they have found case after case after case of grade inflation, attendance inflation, and all these other scams being put forward by the Baltimore Public Schools in order to avoid any consequences or any scrutiny. Now, the attendance scam is actually even more pernicious because if you're in school at a certain period of time, I believe it's in the month of September, that's going to dictate your attendance levels, whether or not you're getting federal funding. Now, you have all these students that are truant, and it used to be that Baltimore would go out of their way to incentivize these kids, as seen in The Wire, to show up just for that particular day so that they could get that federal money. But now it appears they're just running a scam and recording these kids as present, even though they're not actually there, which means they're likely defrauding the federal taxpayers with inflated attendance numbers. And it's all just something that has been discovered and documented and talked about in the city of Baltimore for the past 6 years, yet nothing has been done to change it. In fact, more and more stuff each and every day gets discovered to be inflated, misrepresented in order to obfuscate the problems from the parents.
Our investigations even caught the attention of Maryland's Inspector General for Education.
If you're setting them up for failure, this is a way of doing it.
In 2022, the IG released a report finding that over a 4-year period, city schools changed at least 12,500 failing grades to passing when there was no evidence the students earned the passing grade.
Just think about that. 12,000 grades were changed from failing to passing without any evidence to support the change. Not even the superficial representation of evidence that you could have presented to the Baltimore Inspector General or the Education Inspector General from the state of Maryland on this particular subject matter. These are 12,000 plus most obvious unjustified grade changes. And even though this report came out last year, did you see any heads rolling from this? Did you hear about anybody getting fired from this? No. And the reason why is because, to your surprise, if you're not aware of how these Inspector General reports go, they come out each and every year related to the education system in almost every state. In fact, if you looked up your Inspector General reports on this, you would find horrors wherever you are in this country on what's going on in your public school system. One of the funniest things is that whenever something like this goes down, they promise an investigation. The investigation happens. It concludes the whole system is rotten from the inside out, insanely corrupt, but nobody reports on what actually happens when the investigation concludes. Another scandal comes up, they launch another investigation. So year after year, for decades in this country, we have reports like this that show unbelievable instances of fraud. And honestly, I may have to take the time, pick a random place, pick a random year where I review one of these, just so you know that it's not just Baltimore, it's not just Maryland, it's not just the left-wing cities that you're thinking of, it's almost everywhere in the country.
I'm on my way out, Chris. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Can we just talk to you on your way out?
City Schools leadership will not grant Project Baltimore an interview to discuss the falsification of report cards. Harrison says she's gone to the school system multiple times and hasn't gotten any answers either. So at a recent event, we took Harrison's concerns to school CEO, Dr. Sonia Santelises.
What safeguards are in place to ensure that service learning hours are awarded
we are
properly?
more than happy to answer that. We've got a team on that. More than happy. If you want to reach out with that question, we can get some folks to talk to you.
So the Project Baltimore types have been working on this for years. Again, they've documented 6 straight years of this mother's persistence and trying to get answers from the school system, and they've gotten no results. They're talking to the CEO of the public schools, and guess what? She makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and all she's interested in is covering her own backside. She's saying, oh, you could approach us, you can contact us, as you'll see when they corner her at an event and she's dodging the question, yet they explain to her that she's been trying for years and they're not even taking their calls. This is because the corrupt public education system operates best without any accountability, and instead of going out of your way to deny a problem, which acknowledges at least an allegation, they would just rather pretend it doesn't exist and keep collecting those paychecks. You think that these positions making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year are a coincidence when you have a failing school system that is pending almost $30,000 per pupil? No, absolutely not. This is the design.
But does it concern you that there's a mother who says that her son is getting service learning hours towards graduation that he didn't earn?
Chris, we have so many questions from parents. More than happy to have them call us, just like we did with some of the other questions. So, more than happy to do that. You can have that parent reach out to us, Chris. More than happy to talk to them.
She's reached out plenty of times. She's been in North Avenue's building.
But she is more than free to reach out, as are you.
Again, as she dashes away from the interview, you can hear the condescending tone. She does not want to be confronted by this reporter, which is good, by the way. This is a reporter actually holding power to account. And she's saying, oh, you could reach out, and just lying over and over again. But Chris ain't having it. He says she's been reaching out for years, multiple times. And she just doubles down saying, oh, you can reach out if you want to know. Feel free to reach out if you want to know, never actually acknowledging that when you reach out to her office, they have somebody transcribe the message so that she can burn it in her fireplace, because I'm sure her office is super fancy and has its own fireplace.
Chris, I hope you have a fabulous day.
And when she closes with, Chris, I hope you have a fabulous day, what she's actually saying is, never ever confront me again. I'm never going to talk to you. There's a reason why my office is ducking you for interviews and has been doing so for years. It's because you previously called out how much money I was making and all the scandals that are happening under my watch. Obviously, this is a woman who thinks she's immune from accountability, and everything that the Baltimore public school system has showed us in terms of controversy versus consequences supports her reading of the situation.
It's heartbreaking. I know my son is smart. I know when he gets it, he gets it.
In 2017, Tamika Harrison wanted her son to learn the skills he needs to be successful.
He knows that, I can just show up and do 20%. They gonna give me the other 80.
In 2023, she says that's not what he's learned.
I'm gonna get a high school diploma anyway, over my dead body, over my dead body, literally. They're gonna have to kill me if they think I'm gonna let that happen.
Look, from me to you, from a person who has no children to a mother who is dedicated to her child, learning that there are consequences, that it should be a meritocracy, respect through and through. I absolutely love the fact that this woman is not going to allow her son to benefit from a corrupt system. She's saying over her dead body is her son going to get a high school diploma for doing 20% of the work. She demands that he actually be prepared for the world like any other kid, and you absolutely gotta love somebody who doesn't want a handout. She wants a system that works, a system that serves her, rather than a system that panders to her, rather than a system that pretends to work. Respect all the way through. Thank you to this mother. 6 straight years of fighting this battle. Unquestionable honor from her. 6 straight years of going up against the machine, fighting back. Again, credit where credit is definitely due. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think about Baltimore's public school system, the fact that they've been doing grade inflation and they've been caught over and over and over again, and yet there have been no consequences. And also let me know what you think about this mother fighting for her son to actually be challenged and refusing to accept a handout from a corrupt institution that just wants to paper over the problems. All of it, let me know down in the comments below. And as usual, if you liked the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a mother exposing a corrupt system. Till next time.